California's politicians have been taking money from a criminal linked to the deaths of more than 100 people. The criminal is PG&E. And I know that sounds weird, but the nation's largest power company is a convicted felon. It's also a big political donor, and there's nothing illegal about taking donations from a corporate felon. This is purely a political issue. After months of reporting on it and some recent power blackouts that hit millions of people, we're starting to see signs of change. I'll explain what's new in a moment, but let's catch up everybody on the crimes. This goes back to 2010, when 8 people died in the San Bruno gas explosion.
On September 9th, 2010, PG&E learned a tragic lesson we can never forget.
PG&E obstructed the federal investigation into that disaster. That earned PG&E 1 felony. The same jury also found PG&E guilty of 5 more for willfully ignoring federal safety laws on its gas pipelines. A human being could have gotten 30 years in prison, but as a corporation, PG&E got sentenced to its max punishment of a $3 million fine and up to 5 years probation. PG&E is still serving that time right now, and you might think the last thing anybody in California politics would want is to be connected to a corporate felon whose crimes involved the deaths of 8 innocent people. You'd be wrong. Our reporting this year uncovered the fact that after those guilty verdicts, Governor Gavin Newsom took PG&E money for his campaign. PG&E was convicted of 6 federal felonies in 2016. After that, you took more than $200,000 to help get elected. How should people trust you to be running the show to come up with the solutions?
I wish you luck with whatever you're working on, but that's a strange question.
And the governor wasn't alone. Our reporting found that 8 out of 10 lawmakers here at the state capitol from both parties also took political donations from PG&E. And recently we showed you it's a similar story in Washington, D.C. Of California's 55 members of Congress, we found 44 took PG&E money after the felony convictions. That's also 8 out of 10. And we haven't even talked about the wildfires. PG&E admits that its power line caused the deadliest wildfire in state history. The Camp Fire burned 85 people to death when it obliterated the town of Paradise, along with the smaller communities of Concow and Magalia. The PG&E power line that started it had so many safety problems, the company decided to shut it down permanently. Prosecutors are investigating PG&E for possible charges that could be as serious as
some 85 counts of manslaughter.
The state blames PG&E equipment for sparking 6 deadly wildfires that killed a total of 109 people in just 3 fire seasons. Those fires burned in the districts of these 5 Northern California congressmen who took a combined $58,000 from PG&E's PAC after the company's convictions. All 5 members still took PG&E money this year after people died in their districts. If it seems like nobody in California politics cares how bad things get with PG&E, like none of the crimes, death, or destruction matters, I've got a couple guys to introduce you to.
It just matters.
This is Josh Elder. He's chairman of the Dorado County Democratic Party.
There's a lot of public focus on this, and it's something that every one of our legislators, our executives, and our congresspeople, et cetera, are going to have to essentially answer for.
They just don't need to be taking that money.
And he's Todd White, Josh's Republican counterpart.
This company cannot even provide the services that they're contracted to do.
It turns out in the forests of the Sierra, PG&E is bringing political rivals together to oppose PG&E and its practice of donating to political candidates from both parties.
Yeah, I would not recommend that a candidate ask for our endorsement and accept money from PG&E.
Our position is very clearly, don't take the money. If you want our support, if you want our endorsement, don't take the money.
For Todd and Josh, the idea of banning PG&E political donations goes back to before the big blackouts. They watched Paradise burn down to their north and thought of all the places closer to home that could burn the same way.
I mean, that could be Pollock Pines tomorrow.
Here's where he's talking about. There are hundreds of houses in this aerial view of Pollock Pines, but the forest is so thick and overgrown you can't see them unless you look straight down. To prevent sparking fires in places like this, PG&E enacted more planned blackouts this year. October brought a bunch of windstorms, and a few million people had the power shut off for days at a time, some of them more than once. And it worried even more people than that. PG&E owns a monopoly about the same size as Oklahoma, with the population of 4 Oklahomas. 16 million people get their power from PG&E. Trying to calm those angry masses, PG&E kept arguing that the shutoffs worked, admitting that its own power grid is so prone to wind damage that it could have sparked dozens of fires if the company had left the lights on. But it's also true that a fire did start during the shutoffs in Sonoma County, right by some PG&E high-tension lines that the company left on. Fire investigators are looking at those lines to determine the cause of the Kincaid fire, which burned down almost 200 houses. Meantime, Governor Gavin Newsom signed AB 1054, a law that, among other things, makes it easier for power companies to charge their customers for the cost of wildfire damage. The governor also decided to have his office try to help PG&E negotiate its way out of bankruptcy in time to meet that new law's deadline.
If the suggestion is somehow I'm influenced by that, you're wrong. Absolutely unequivocally wrong. And there's not one thing you can point to during my tenure as governor that would suggest otherwise.
The governor's not alone with that answer. The vast majority of the politicians who took PG&E money are keeping it. And that ticks off the party leaders in El Dorado County.
Is that a no-brainer to give that money back?
To me, it's a no-brainer. To me, it's the right political thing to do. It is the political currency to show that you have the political will to move forward on the crisis.
And I'm not happy about it, and I'm not happy with this list.
Our list of Congress members who took PG&E money has big names from both sides. Top Democrats like House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who donated her PG&E money to charity after we asked for comment, and Senator Dianne Feinstein, who didn't comment at all. We also got no comment from top Republicans like House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy and Devin Nunes, who recently found fame running the Trump impeachment defense. And then there's those districts where the 109 people died in wildfires blamed on PG&E. That bipartisan list of 5 congressmen includes Republican Tom McClintock, who took $4,500.
And you're in McClintock's district, I'm right?
We're all in McClintock's district.
Okay. So I reached out to him and the 5 that had people die in their districts today, asking for comment. Do you have a prediction about what he's going to do?
I don't have any predictions about what any of them are going to do.
McClintock didn't respond. In fact, none of the 5 indicated they'll give up the PG&E money they took. Of the 44 California members of Congress who took PG&E money after the criminal convictions, 4 donated it away to charity. Of the 98 members of the state legislature who took money from PG&E, just 5 donated some or all to charity. After we first reported on that issue, the federal judge handling PG&E's probation demanded to know whether the company thought it was more important to spend money on politics than on fixing its power grid. PG&E said no, and it hasn't made any state-level political donations since.
I heard recently from Matt out in Oroville, who asked a great fundamental question about the millions that PG&E has been spending on politics since becoming a corporate felon. Simply put, he asks, why is it legal for this to happen? Well, there's 2 big reasons, Matt. One is that federal judges don't ban political spending when they sentence corporations for crimes. PG&E violated its probation this year, and the judge banned the company from paying profits to shareholders. PG&E doesn't have profits right now, so that was largely a symbolic move, yet PG&E was allowed to keep donating to politicians this year. And the second reason is there's no federal or state law against corporate felons making campaign donations. And we haven't seen a move in this capital or the one out in D.C. to change that.